skin.
Angena,
Angena,
with his body.
with his body.
Sandhya abra,
Sandhya,
reddish.
reddish.
Rucha,
Rucha,
colored.
colored.
Chandralekam,
Chandralekam,
the crest of a half moon.
the crest of a half moon.
Cha,
Cha,
and Vibratam,
Vibratam,
hearing.
hearing.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation. Purport. Lord Shiva's symptoms of austerity are not exactly those of a Vaisnava. Lord Shiva is certainly the number one Vaisnava, but he exhibits a feature for a particular class of man who cannot follow the Vaishnava principles. The Shaivites, the devotees of Lord Shiva, generally dress like Lord Shiva, and sometimes they indulge in smoking and taking intoxicants. Such practices are never accepted by the followers of Vaishnava rituals. Again, the verse reads, Lingam cha tapasa bishtam bhasmadanda jatajinam ongena sandhyabra urucha chandra lekam cha vibratam. Translation. He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation. Mukam karoti vachalam mangamangayate garimyat kripatanam mande Sri Gurun Dimataranam. So, Srila Prabhupada points out, he's indicating here, just slightly indicating, in other purports he elaborates more, that there is a kind of controversy or friction between the Vaishnavas and the Shaivites. Although, in actual fact, the personality of Lord Shiva, in the Shastra he is described as Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu, that there is no better Vaishnava than Lord Shiva. But the misunderstanding or the controversy comes, of course, from the paths of dharma which emanate from Lord Shiva. Now, it should be noted first of all that Lord Shiva has his own Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is called Rudra Sampradaya, which is a bona fide Vaishnava line. The great Acharya Vishnu Shami, actually there were, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there were three in history, three historical Vishnu Shamis. So they're all in this line. All of them were great Acharyas. And then in more recent time, the same period of time as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Balabhacharya accepted this Rudra Sampradaya line. So in India now, the Pushti Marga, that's their name now. They're known as the Pushti Marga sect of Vaishnavas who follow Balabhacharya. So they're a branch of this same Rudra Sampradaya. So this is an authorized Vaishnava school. But of course, Lord Shiva came as Shankaracharya and established this Advaita Vedanta line, Mayavada line. Lord Shiva is also worshipped by the Tantrics, who are even more bizarre line of so-called spiritualism. And yes, actually he is worshipped indirectly by the Satanists and by the practitioners of voodoo and all the other strange tamasic forms of ritual. Because Lord Shiva, he has his what are called Gaura forms, that means horrible forms, many manifestations, like Kalabhairava. That Kalabhairava you see is worshipped in North India, Nepal, and sometimes they're even offering human sacrifices to Kalabhairava. So there are many things that emanate from Lord Shiva, which Vaishnavas will avoid as being disgusting, practically unmentionable. We don't even want to talk about these things. So then the question remains, so he's the greatest Vaishnava, then why is he doing like that? So he has his Vaishnava line, as does Lord Brahma and the Kumaras. Lord Brahma, Kumaras, also Lakshmi Devi. These are the other three Vaishnava lines. So we find that Brahma, Lakshmi Devi, Kumara, they're not also manifesting other forms of religiosity. So why is Lord Shiva doing this? And why is he called the greatest Vaishnava at the same time? So this is food for thought. So the answer is, actually it's a very wonderful answer. An answer which we, in our movement, can learn much from. That Lord Shiva, he is known as Ashutosh. This is one of his names, which means very easily satisfied. That means he's very easily approachable. He makes himself available to anyone, even the demons. The demons are, what are demons? Demons are those who are opposed to the Vaishnavas. That is a statement of the Padma Puran. That Vishnu Bhakti Smrito Daiva. For instance, the Devatas, the demigods. So what is their distinct feature? Why are they called Daivas or Devatas? Actually the root here is Deva. Deva means God. Deva or Krishna, he is, one of his names is Deva Deva. That means God among the gods. So you may know that Hindus, they're worshipping many gods. But among all those gods, there's one Deva Deva. Among those demigods, or gods if you like, there is a God whom they worship, and that is Krishna. So the demigods are called Devas, godly, Devata. Devata actually means godly, they're godly. The root is Div, like in Divya. So Div means shining, effulgent, or transcendental, highly advanced. So the Devas are all these things because Vishnu Bhakti, because they're devotees of Vishnu. And in their position as administrators of the universe, they are serving Vishnu, serving Krishna. And the Asuras, the demons, are opposed to Vishnu Bhakti, to the devotional service of Lord Vishnu, and therefore they're opposed to the demigods. But Lord Shiva, who's considered the greatest amongst these demigods, he's called Mahadeva. Among these devas, he is the great one. And again, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, among the Vaishnavas, so all these demigods are Vaishnavas, he's the first class one, he's the best. And why is that? Because he's approachable. He makes himself available to all living entities, even the demons, even those who are avaishnava, anti-Vaishnava. And so Lord Shiva has another name, Dharma Vatsala. That means any attempt by any living entity to perform dharma, and among activities of dharma, religion, the first and foremost is sadhusanga, to associate with the devotees, to worship the devotees, serve the devotees. So Lord Shiva, being a Vaishnava, he knows this full well, that in this, like it is said, sadhusanga, sarva shastra koi, all the shastras, all the Vedic scriptures, they're crying out. This verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita is saying that, actually is telling what is the message of all these shastras. If you want to boil it down to one simple formula. What are all the Shastras saying? And the fact is they're saying sadhusanga, associate with the devotees, associate with sadhus, saintly persons. Lava matta sadhusanga sarvasya hoy. And in this, even if it is done for 1/11th of a second, one lava matra, all perfection is to be obtained. And that is the message of all Vedic Shastras. Huh? Even there's one verse in Rig Veda where it says that by following the tracks of Vacha, Vacha means the Veda Mata, the personified Veda herself. There's a goddess who is known as Vach, who is known as Gayatri, who is also known as Suvarna. So she has different names. Oh, sorry, Savitri, not Suvarna. Savitri. So she has different names, and she is the personified Vedas. Prabhupada used to address her as Veda Mata, Mother Veda. So those brahmanas, saintly persons, who wish to understand the Veda, they follow her tracks by means of yajna. That is the regulative principle of Vedic Dharma. One must perform yajna. And where did this track of yajna lead? To the lotus feet of the great rishis, the great sages. So by following Veda, this is actually where one ends up, associating with great souls, Mahajans, Mahatmas, Vaishnavas. So Lord Shiva, he's the greatest of the great souls. Actually, he even has a special tattva. When we say soul, that means jiva. But Lord Shiva, he's even beyond the jiva tattva. He has his own tattva, Shiva tattva. So actually no jiva can be in his position. It's not possible for any jiva to be as great a sadhu, as great a saintly person as Lord Shiva. So he's the greatest among the devotees, among the rishis, among the yogis, among all of different classes of saintly persons. There's no one who can rival Lord Shiva. And yet, he makes himself available to everyone. The most fallen. And he makes himself really available in that from him emanates lines of religion, lines of dharma, which the most fallen, the most wretched, neglected, sinful kind of living entity will be attracted to follow. And he accepts their worship. So therefore we see in history one great demon, Ravan. He worshipped Lord Shiva. How did he worship Lord Shiva? He worshipped him by cutting off his own head. He had such a power that he could, as soon as his head would be cut off, it would grow back. So this way he could offer head after head after head. So, you see, this type of religious practice is loved by the crazy beings. You find also today in certain, I mentioned some of them, very tamasic religious practices. They're still going on. Human sacrifice, or you offer your own blood, or offer animals that are slaughtered in a brutal way. So the crazy, very tamasic beings, this is what they like in the name of religion. This shows something for them. You see, something's happening. So Lord Shiva Ravana cut off his own head and offered it into the fire. And so Lord Shiva blessed him. Now, the interesting thing is that Lord Shiva's blessings are twofold. Because he is a Vaishnava. The demons, you see, the materialists, they take Lord Shiva not as a Vaishnava. He's so kind that he presents himself as an alternative God. You know, just like in Christianity, the Christian culture, you'll find there are the Satan worshippers, I mentioned them. So they see Satan as some kind of alternative God. They even have their satanic Bible. They have everything, their rituals, everything, but it's all reversed and perverted. It's based on Christianity, but it's kind of like some perversion of it. And the goals are exactly opposite. The Christians, they want to get some reward in the next life. The Satanists say, we want it in this life. And the Christians are praying to become very pious. We want to be impious. And like that. So everything the Christians want, the Satanists reject. They want the exact opposite. They know they can't get it from their Christian God, so there's an alternative God. So this is, yes, very much in the line of the demons. So Lord Shiva, he is that so-called alternative God. He presents himself in the Vedic context. We were speaking of Christian context, but in the Vedic context, he presents himself that way also, as a kind of deity for those who don't want to be bothered with following the Vedic rules and regulations, for those who despise the demigods, who want to defeat the demigods, for those who are haters of Vishnu and the Vishnu Bhaktas, for those who are cow killers and every kind of abominable type of life form. So Lord Shiva is there, worship me. And they think, oh, very nice. Here is our God. And just see, yes, he has all the symptoms. And the first word of this verse is lingam, symptom. So he's extremely austere. He's performing this ghora tapasa, this horrible, isn't it? The Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that horrible austerities are not pleasing to him. But that yet Lord Shiva, he's assuming these kind of horrible austerities, meditating in the crematorium. He's surrounded by dogs, wild dogs. These are his associates actually. 5 wild, mangy, snarling wolf dogs. They're among his devotees. And he's got snakes crawling all over him, poisonous cobras. And his body is smeared with the ashes of burned corpses. And he wears a garland of skulls. And he has a tiger skin lungi. And he has a trident, trisul. And always there's a swarm of ghosts and hobgoblins around him. Therefore he's called Bhutanath, Lord of the Bhutas. So the demons, seeing all these lingam, these symbols, they think, oh yes, this is our God. Perfect. And he's so powerful. He's so powerful that when he opens his third eye, then fire comes out and consumes all the planets. And then he gives it to those rascal demigods. It's great, it's great. So they're very attracted to these features of the Lord. And so he accepts their worship and he gives them, externally, he gives them the material benedictions they want. And they're very satisfied with him. But because they're deluded, they do not recognize that he is, after all, a Vaisnava. And after all, he desires their real welfare. So actually, his program for those demons who undergo very severe austerities to please him, like Ravan cutting off his own head, and others. There's so many famous demons who worship Lord Shiva throughout history in so many bizarre ways. So he awards them with great power, the greatest among these demons. He gives so much power that no demigod can oppose them. So then, doesn't that confirm that Lord Shiva is actually some kind of renegade? Doesn't that confirm that he actually is opposed to the demigods? Why would he do such a thing? Why would he give so much power to a demon that that demon would be able to conquer the heavenly planets and subjugate the demigods? What is Lord Shiva doing by this? He's upsetting the whole natural course of the universe, seems to be going against Lord Vishnu's plan. No, actually, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, they're working together behind the scenes. So Lord Shiva gives such power that the living entities who are they're placed into such misery by the depredations of these powerful demons. Who can they turn to? Who can they turn to? They look. Normally, these followers of the Vedas, they're used to praying to some demigod. You see, they're used to praying. Famous Vedic demigods are Indra, Chandra, like that. Sometimes Varuna they worship. So these are powerful devatas, Agni Dev. But now, you see, they turn to them and they've also been conquered by the demons. And now we're suffering. So who's left? There's only Lord Vishnu. So in this way, Lord Shiva, he actually causes the demigods, the brahmanas, to take shelter of Lord Vishnu. And that's when they go first to Lord Brahma, who is their guru of gurus, and he takes them to the Svetadvipa ocean, and he meditates on Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu appears in his heart and consoles through Brahma, Hare Krishna, consoles through Brahma all the demigods. Don't worry, I will appear. And so in this way, Lord Vishnu takes the opportunity to appear in his avatar forms. Just like also Sri Advaitacharya, he is Sadashiva. Sadashiva. So he worshipped Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, calling him by making offerings at the Ganga. He was calling him to please come, because this Kali Yuga is so inauspicious. There's no one else. So you can see how Lord Shiva, in his different forms, is working together with Lord Krishna. Actually, his desire is to see all the demons defeated by Lord Krishna. He knows that when they're defeated, when they're killed by the weapon of Lord Krishna, then they're liberated. He states that Muktir, what is that? One verse. Anyway, I don't remember the Sanskrit right now, but he's saying that actually only Lord Vishnu can give liberation, although there are those who are coming to Lord Shiva for liberation. But he's admitting, I cannot really give that. I cannot give the real liberation, but Lord Vishnu can. So when Lord Vishnu kills these demons, he liberates them. Liberate means they're freed of all their sins. Sometimes they even attain Vaikuntha. More often they merge into the Brahmajyoti, but for them, that's pretty good. They'd not have the chance otherwise. Merging into the Brahmajyoti means one's sins have been washed away. One does not have a positive position, spiritual position as devotee. He is not rendered devotional service. But at least all the sins are washed away and one merges into the spiritual sky. And coming back down, as one eventually must do, one gets a very good opportunity. Those who come down from Brahmajyoti generally are coming down in the form of great sages and even Brahma himself. So someone who's killed personally by Vishnu is very greatly benefited. And as I said, some great demons like Putana and that King Paundraka and Aghasura, they were actually able to attain positions in the spiritual world in the Lord's pastimes. So sometimes that happens. So this is Lord Shiva. Yes, and the last point I wanted to say, what do we have to learn from this? Yes, sometimes there is criticism of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that it is so worldly or involved in mundane affairs, seemingly. In that instead of like the saintly Vaishnavas in India who retire to Vrindavan and they simply go from place of pilgrimage to place of pilgrimage in Braja Bhumi, and they chant so many rounds and they're worshipping Govardhan and doing so many nice Vaishnava activities, and they are nice. These are the activities of the Goswamis. So instead of following in the footsteps of the Goswamis, we are running restaurants in Stockholm, and serving out Krishna Prasadam to filthy meat eaters, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so many criticisms are there. They have unlimited criticisms they can make. And this is not really, or they may say, this is nice, this is pious activity, they say. They say, yeah, this is mode of goodness, welfare work. But it is material. So real thing is they speak of some internal culture, and that's in Vrindavan. And so maybe you Hare Krishna ISKCON devotees, you serve your prasadam and do your welfare work, you're chanting on the streets in these hellish cities, you'll do that for some time, and then the real lobha means greed, the real greed for the real thing will develop in your heart. And then you'll come to Vrindavan and live in some kutir by Radhakund and chant so many rounds every day, and then your real Vaishnava life will begin. So they say like that. But actually, of course, we don't want to criticize unnecessarily. But first of all, the first thing to be said is that the foremost acharyas of this age, bona fide acharyas coming in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in modern time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. They have shown us that just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the interesting point, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He is God. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahiyami. He is none other than Shri Sri Radha and Krishna. So these persons who speak of the higher stage of Vaishnavism, and we're only on the lower stage. So they're worshippers of Radha and Krishna. Radha and Krishna are for them the supreme goal, to enter into Radha Krishna Nitya Leela. Very fine, but let us just see, what has Radha and Krishna done? They have mixed together as one person, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and he has come down to this material world to preach. Now because he's God, so he came in the form of Mahabhāgavatam. Mahabhāgavata means best among devotees, Uttama Adhikari, the greatest among devotees. So Prabhupada explained that the Mahabhāgavata, he shows 3 signs, since we're speaking of signs. So there are 3 signs. First one, as he said of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, when he was sannyasi, so minimum 4 hours a day, he was going on Harinam Sankirtan. Prabhupada said every day, minimum 4 hours. He was leading the Harinam, means going on Sankirtan, to distribute the holy name to all fallen conditioned souls. Every day, 4 hours minimum. Then, second symptom, he was preaching to the learned class of men. And he was defeating all their arguments, and he was converting them into Vaishnavas. And then third symptom, which is the special symptom. If you study this carefully, you'll see that the Kanishta Adhikari, the third class devotee, he's also going on Sankirtan. Now, he's not leading the Sankirtan party, he's not the leader, but he's participating in the Sankirtan. But he's not able to preach to learned people. That the Madhyam devotees do. They're doing also the Sankirtan. So the third thing which distinguishes the Mahabhagavatam is Ras Lila Katha, Prabhupada explained. That Lord Chaitanya was discussing the intimate pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna together only with other Mahabhagavata devotees, like Sikhi Mahiti and Swarup Damodar, few, very few in his circle, Ramananda Roy. So he was discussing with them the intimate. Okay, so we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.